I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the PVrrg, the Palos Verdes Residents for Responsible Government, to this forum this evening to discuss Measure E. You may have heard of Measure E. I want to thank all of you for, first of all, taking the time out of your lives in the middle of the week, in the middle of spring break, to show up and talk about this. I think that actually speaks to your commitment and to how much you care about the city. And so from my point of view, I really want to thank you for being here. My other thing is to remind all of you to vote, which is coming up next week. Let me talk a little bit about myself and what I'm doing here before we actually get into the meeting. My name is Michael Thiel, and my role here tonight is to be the facilitator of this meeting, which means it's my job to kind of manage the process of the meeting, how it goes, so that all of us here in the room, all of you here in the room who want to talk about the content of Measure E, can do that in a way that produces maximum results for you and for everybody else. So at one level, I really don't care about the content, but I care a great deal that you have an effective meeting. So from my point of view, what I'll be doing is managing sort of the flow of the conversation. There may be things that from time to time I'll step in just because things need to move along or they need to stop or all of that. That's my job. And that's the only reason why I'm here, or what it is I'm here to do. The purpose of this meeting is education, is to provide information about Measure E, and so that all of us who go to vote next week can in fact make the most informed decision we can make. There's no other purpose for this meeting other than to provide information. Let me handle a couple of quick logistics first. The meeting will last a maximum of 2 hours. So one way or the other, we'll be out of here at 9 o'clock. Could be out here a little earlier, but we will definitely be out of here at 9 because they're going to come lock the doors. Most important information, restrooms. Should you find yourself needing one between now and 9, it's through that door and then make another right and there is a restroom. So know this ahead of time. We may in fact take a break depending on, again, the flow, but I would encourage you, if you need to take a break for yourself, please just get up, do whatever you need to do. We have refreshments in the back. And so just manage yourself in terms of your own need, either for breaks or food or whatever. Okay. So we have 3 speakers tonight, and I want to talk about them here in just a moment. But let me just give you a brief introduction of me and why I'm up here. Again, I've been a resident of Palos Verdes for over 60 years. And for over 30 of those years, I worked first at PVrrg and then later at Northrop Grumman down in Redondo Beach Space Park. And my job down there in the area that I worked in was called Learning and Organization Development. So basically, it was my job to help internal clients have the people side of their organization work as effectively as possible. So at various times, that was everything from leadership development to team effectiveness to succession management, strategic planning, all of that kind of stuff. That was basically what we did. Since I retired, which was a few years back, I have continued to do that as a private consultant for a number of clients. So that's just a little bit about me and my background. I have 2 children, both of whom came through PV High, and they are both currently in college and doing well. So that makes me feel good about our school system. We have 3 speakers that will be up here tonight. And I'll introduce all of them here in just a moment. But we're going to have Victoria Lozzi, who is, of course, our city treasurer. She'll be up here to say a few words about sort of the overall financial situation of the city. We have John Harbison. He's from PVrrg, from the same organization. And it's his job to provide basically an overview of the measure and the various points that the measure has raised. PVrrg has taken 0 position as to whether you vote yes or no, and so John's briefing is literally designed just to provide information. He's not providing it with any point of view involved other than, here's the facts that we could find. We also have David Bryce and Des Myers. David and Des are going to be speaking from sort of the people who advocate a no vote. So they will have a point of view, and they'll be up here talking about that. Now, we do not at this point have anybody who is going to speak on the yes side. This is a strange thing. We actually asked a number of folks. We asked all of the city council, who have all come up for it, and we asked people of the various yes on E organizations, and it turns out that We either heard, I'm going to be out of town, it's spring break, or in a small number of cases, no response at all. So unfortunately, we don't have a formal person to stand up here and talk for 10 minutes about why you should vote yes. But I'm hoping that in the conversation, people in the room here who feel that you should vote yes will make your positions known and we can discuss it at that point. The leader of the organization, the Support PVE, or I'm sorry, Keep PVE PD organization, a gentleman by the name of Steve Fredericks. We reached out to him and he responded, and he asked actually that I read his email response to Rose Ramsey, who is the head of our organization. Rose had written to him reaching out saying, Steve, would you be willing to talk? Steve said, I can, and he wanted to make sure that we read this particular email, which I'm going to do. Rose then also said, could you please read my response to him? So I'm going to do that. So, on April 1st, Steve wrote the following to Rose, quote, as I had indicated in our last conversation, April 4th is in the middle of spring break and hence not a good time for our availability. If you had contacted us prior to making your arrangements, we could have worked with you to identify a meeting time that would have worked for all of us. That said, if you can change your forum date from April 4th to April 6th at or after 4 p.m., William will be available to represent the yes on Measure E side. To assist you, we will reimburse the cost of renting the room if necessary. We have additional volunteers to help facilitate the new date in case some of yours can only make Wednesday. We have a mediator who can facilitate the new date if yours can't. We still have plenty of time to notify everyone the event will be taking place 2 days later, and more people are likely to come on Friday than Wednesday. If they did, I'm not sure what they would say. If this does not work for you, please share this information at your forum at the appropriate time. Rose responded as follows. Thank you for your suggestion and your support for the PVrrg Open Forum. PVrrg sensed that we need a public forum for this election in early March. We had asked the League of Women Voters to host it, but were told that they were too busy at this time. This is why we decided to sponsor it ourselves as a service to our community. April 4th was the only possible date for us based on the availability of the room, as well as the limitation of PVrrg members' time. We didn't consider a weekend date because most people are busier on weekends. Knowing that your committee has the support of over 100 knowledgeable community leaders and residents, we didn't expect that not one would be available to be a representative speaker of the proponents of the measure because of spring break, but apparently that was an incorrect assumption. At this time, cancellation is no longer an option for us since we have already published the event on the Peninsula News, our website on Nextdoor, and emails, and contacted multiple groups and posted copies of our event in many locations. There are no sign-up sheets, so we have no way of notifying those who have already decided to come of a change of date and time. We will certainly try to explain your position and situation at the beginning of the forum. However, we are happy to hear that your committee has the interest and resources to consider sponsoring a separate forum on Friday, 4/6. We highly support additional forums because we feel that many voters remain confused and our community would be served best by providing them with more opportunities to understand Measure E. If you proceed with your plan, those who can't attend Wednesday could attend your event on Friday, and we could even promote it on Wednesday at our event. Excuse me. Although we have very limited resources, PVrrg would be willing to participate and help your effort in any way we can. If someone should become available to be a speaker on 4/4, please let us know. That represents the completed communication between Steve and Rose. So his statement and then her statement. We have not heard anything since then, so as far as I know right now, there is nothing scheduled for the 6th. If that should happen, we'll certainly post it and get that information out. Okay. So we're going to start the speakers here very shortly. Just a couple of things before we do. The design tonight is that you're going to hear from John Harbison. He'll speak for no more than 20 minutes, just going over the information. David Rice and Des Myers will speak for no more than 10 minutes. Victoria Lozzi will speak for no more than 10 minutes. So that's like 40 minutes worth of talking. The rest of the time is to have a conversation here in the room in terms of questions, answers, comments, and the like. When we get to the time for questions or conversation, you can participate in at least two ways. One is raise your hand. It's my job to see you and call on you and create a space for you to say what you need to say. We have microphones. If you want to use a microphone, all you need to do is let us know. We got a couple of mics. Who's got the microphones? Okay, we got, Sherry's got a microphone, so she can bring it around to you. If for whatever reason you don't want to use the mic, but nobody heard what you actually had to say, I will repeat the question before anybody tries to answer. If you're not comfortable using the microphone, we actually have cards that you can write your questions on. And who are the folks with the cards? Okay, we have one back here, and Sherry, you also going to be doing cards? Nope? Okay. So, way in the back, raising your hand, waving it. If you would like a card to write a question down, please let Pat know, and she'll get the information. We'll get them up here. We'll read what you put down and respond that way. So you can do it one of two ways. All right. So just one last thing. Yes, sir?
Will questions be after each speaker or after they've all spoken?
Yeah, we're going to try to aim for hold your questions till the end, and there still may be a few, but that's my intention.
Okay.
One last thing. This is an exercise in civil engagement. Let me say that one more time. This is an exercise in civil engagement. Democracy is sometimes loud, but it's not disrespectful. So, I'm going to ask that you observe the following norms between now and 9 o'clock tonight. At 9:01, when you're walking out to your cars, you're on your own. But between now and 9, I request the following from you. First of all, listen generously. In other words, don't spend the time while somebody is answering a question thinking of all of the other questions you want to ask. Actually listen to what the people are saying. Speak your truth and let others speak theirs. Everybody in this room has a point of view that's worthy of everybody else's respect. Please do not interrupt. If you are talking, I ask you to please be succinct. We'll be making sure these guys are, so I'm going to ask the same thing of you. Use the microphone if you want. I will repeat the questions. Again, if you choose not to and people can't hear it. I would like to remind you of the difference between inquiry and advocacy. Inquiry is a process where you are actually looking to understand something better than you understand right now. Typically, inquiry takes the form of people asking questions. Questions that fall into an inquiry mode sound something like, could you tell me more about X? I'm not sure I understand this. Could you further explain this? They don't sound like, how could you be so dumb as to have that point of view? There are also, there's certainly advocacy where you can stand up and say, I believe this, I stand for this is my point of view and this is my position. That's a different process than inquiry. Sometimes the two get confused. And you'll hear people asking rhetorical questions which are simply nothing more than a statement disguised as a question. Don't you believe that? Isn't it true that? If that's going on, what I will actually do is stop you and invite you to either rephrase your question or just make it a statement. So let's keep the balance. Inquiry and advocacy, they're both fine, but don't mix them up. If you are advocating a position, I would appreciate it, and I think everybody in the room would, is if you have any facts or data to support your point of view, please provide them rather than simply an ungrounded opinion. And observe the time constraints because I will be managing that pretty tightly. So if I tell you that's great, now it's time to stop. So if I tell you that's great, then now it's time to stop. I ask that you please pay attention to that. Okay.